Chapter 1 to 2, Old Story Again. Dam Chao Port is in the east of Qing country. Although it relies on the open sea, because recently several southern ports have begun to be built, planning to connect by sea with the west, so the trade focus of the country has gradually moved south. This port gradually appeared to be in disrepair. The once bustling port in recent years has gradually become quiet. Seagulls freely fly in the sky without being disturbed by the disgusting sailors. The original residents of Dam Chao Port did not have too many changes in their daily lives. Although their income decreased a little, His Majesty the Emperor had long exempted this area from taxes, so this was possible for everyone to get through the day. Moreover, this port is very beautiful, and today it has become quieter, so it is naturally even more suitable for people to stay. Therefore, from time to time, some big figures come here to build a manor, but because it was too far from the capital, there weren't many real officials left behind. Barely the old lady lived in the manor in the west of the city. It is said that the old lady is the mother of Count T Nam in the capital and bought a house here to retire. Residents of the city all knew that Count T Nam seemed to be very favored by His Majesty the Emperor, and was always not sent out but remained in the capital to manage the finance department. Therefore, everyone showed politeness and respect to this manor, but children do not understand these things. Today the weather is warm and sunny, everyone is sitting in the tavern enjoying the salty and damp taste of the sea breeze, sipping a glass of pickled apricot wine. There was also a group of children around the age of 10 or so surrounding the stone doorstep of Earl T Nam's mansion, chirping and not knowing what they were doing. When I got closer, I discovered a very interesting scene. It turned out that these children were listening to a baby who was only about 4 or 5 years old talking. The baby grew up to be very beautiful, his eyelashes were like a painting, his eyes were clear and incomparable. His voice was a child's voice, but his voice was as powerful as a young old man's. I just heard him sigh, raise his small arms and gesture, saying, "Truman." Went to the wall, discovered there was a ladder there. So step by step he gently walked towards it, looking for it. Found the exit, immediately ran out of there. What happens after that, afterward? Then, of course, back to normal life. The child pouted, seemingly annoyed that the children around him were stupid enough to not ask the main issue. Impossible? Could it be that you didn't bring anything? Hani died, a child said. Yes, wouldn't that Truman have beaten that Hani to death to appease his anger? Just like that, he was followed for many years. The child shrugged. Nobody, hic. It's not interesting at all. Young Master Pham Nhan, today's story doesn't sound as good as the story from a few days ago, so what do people like to listen to? Phu Mak Chi Lu, Fong Tu material language, huh? The child named Pham Nhan turned around to look at the group of children older than him and pointed, fighting is not good at all. Digging up the surrounding museum also does not protect the environment. Suddenly an extremely angry voice came from inside the yard. Young master, where have you gone? The children formed a circle to learn to point their middle fingers, but there were many, so it seemed much more magnificent, saying in unison, huh, then laughed and scattered. This child named Pham Nhan suddenly stood up, wiped the dust off his butt, and turned around to run into the yard. However, when he arrived at the door, those sharp eyes looked at the blind young grocery store owner, whose face showed a complex emotion that was not at all commensurate with his age, then gently closed the wooden door. This is the 4th year Pham Nhan has come to this world. Over the past few years, he finally understood that he was not dreaming but had actually gone to a completely different world. This world seemed very different from the world in his memory. There are many things that are different. Through eavesdropping on the words of the servants in the Count's mansion, he finally understood his identity. It turned out that I was the illegitimate son of Count T Nam in the capital. It seems that the grudges in every rich family are the same. An illegitimate child is very likely to encounter misfortune because the mother is the eldest in the family. The second aunt has no evil intentions, but her father seems to know that there is only one son. Therefore, in order to prolong the Earl's bloodline, I was taken to Dam Chow Port, far away from this capital. In recent years, he has gradually become familiar with his identity. Although it is said that an adult's soul is trapped inside a small body, whether it is physiological or psychological, they have to endure different experiences. If I changed back to a normal person, I'm afraid I would go crazy, but luckily in Pham Nhan's previous life, most of the time he suffered from muscle weakness and was in bed for many years, so now he's fine. It's just a little inconvenient when taking action. Compared to the miserable situation of the previous life, it is nothing. So now he lives in a child's body, which is not too unsuitable for him. What's most unsuitable is his current name. When he was 1 year old, a lord in the capital sent an envelope, naming him Pham Nhan, or An Chi. This guy is not good. Hearing it again and again is very similar to the scolding in his hometown before Pham Him, but on the outside he was just a child, so he basically couldn't use language to express his opposition. In his previous life, when he was being treated in the hospital, in the early stages he could still move his head, so he could usually beg that cute nurse to bring him movies and books to watch. Having lived in the Count's mansion for a long time, although the old lady was cold on the outside and hot on the inside, she loved him very much, and the maids and servants in the palace did not look down on him because he was an illegitimate child. But being in a place without interacting with others made him a bit uncomfortable. How could he tell the maid that he was from another world? Can I tell my teacher that I can actually recognize this word in the book? So usually he sneaked out through the side door of the Count's mansion, playing with a group of commoner children. Moreover, he also told them old stories and told them novels and movies in the other world. It seems he wants to remind himself that he does not belong to this world but to that world, the world with cinema, the internet, and YY novels. Until today, for some unknown reason, he narrated a movie set in the old world. The content of the movie is a bit difficult to understand. Jim Carrey, too, is funny. He can clearly understand it, but the children who are only nearly 10 years old in Dam Chow Port are basically incapable of liking it. Enjoy it, but he tells stories. It was because deep in his heart there was always a strange feeling that he was clearly about to die, so why did he suddenly come back to life in another body? Can't help but think of some movies. Or are the scenes before my eyes, these people, these roads, these seagulls flying in the sky, all arranged by people? Seems exactly like Truman. In the end, Truman discovered that his body was in a fake world, so he decided to get on a boat and find a way out. But Pham Nhan, no, he is Pham Nhan, knows he is not Truman. This world really exists, and is not a character in a movie. So he realized that every day he told old stories to remind himself that he was from another world, which was a mistake on his part.